Yeah, I coined the term salami politics, and I genuinely believe it's an apt description in terms of what's happening with the current government and certainly the Prime Minister. I mean, it's akin to the bread and circus routine that you saw in the Roman Empire. You toss a bit of bread there, a wee bit of salami to that constituency. If you conceive the public appetite for further investment in money, then perhaps the government sees it as a pizza where they sprinkle little bits of cheese and salami and pepper and variety of other ingredients. That's not going to cut the mustard. That's not going to make a significant difference to how us Kiwis turn around our fortunes. And I've got to tell you another thing. We're sick and tired, certainly where I come from in the north, in terms of watching the current government talk about a whole lot of things that they cannot influence, but really taking responsibility for the things that they have a direct power and control over. Just think about that. Communication can easily be distorted so that you emote, you try and resonate, and you show a great deal of care and compassion about things that you have remotely no prospect whatsoever of changing. Yet the things that you've helped engineer or create, you find 1,000 million reasons as to why it's someone else's problem. Oh, it's a problem that came from the National Party. Oh, it's a problem associated with the Ukraine war. Anyway, coming back to salami politics, folks, the problems that we face, they are deep and systemic. And there's two ways of thinking about it. There's the demand function in an economy. We demand X, Y, Z, and then you go and you buy it. I mean, part of the problem at the moment is that there's too big a demand, and people that are firms or businesses or suppliers, they can't meet that demand, and then the cost goes up and up and up. And those of you who are remotely interested in understanding inflation, that's what the outcome is. There are solutions, but those solutions require the government of the day to make hard decisions. Those decisions can be solved if you have a plan. And at the moment, there doesn't appear to be a plan other than a bread and circus routine. Now, it may sound a little awkward and perhaps a bit off-putting how I've described that, but from my perspective, that's actually what's happening. Now, let's just drill down into some of the things that you might expect a government to be looking at doing. Number one, stop deodorizing. Stop all of the flights into cultural fantasy to do with either collapsing TV One and Radio One and costing $360 million. We can't afford those types of ideological extravagances. Stop all the work associated with co-governance. We can't afford at this point in time projects that absorb people and absorb money with no clear outcome. They might appeal to narrow constituencies. They might appeal to remits that a political party might have passed in previous times. But we are staring down the barrel at rising costs in terms of the cost of your mortgage, rising costs in terms of food. Of course, not a nice thing to say, but for a lot of families, they've actually forgotten how to live, i.e. go and buy food and turn that food into 3 meals. And perhaps the education system needs to go back and ensure that young men and women not so much learn how to run a household budget, but learn how to cook and learn how to look after themselves, so they can move away from convenience and rapid fire food and start to live perhaps how our grandparents and parents lived. Now, that all sounds folksy and old-fashioned, but I'm telling you, the pressures and the challenges coming our way, the government needs to get back to those particular issues, and many of us who are leaders in our community step away from all these highfalutin ideas and go back to what actually works at the level of the community. And the only way that will work is by having either MPs or leaders that are willing to follow and develop better relationships at the base of the community, whether it's in rural New Zealand or urban New Zealand, because our communities are hurting and they are not going to feel any love. They're not going to feel any improvement until the current leaders step out of the clouds and deliver on the ground. And to do that, the bureaucracy has to be made to deliver concrete results. No more great working parties, endless consultancy seances. Give the power and the control and the authority back to the level of the community most capable of making a mark and impact in a short period of time. That's it from Shane. Yeah, a wee bit of a wrap-up. What I've covered is my view on the excesses of co-governance and the challenges of the cost of living, and quite frankly, the salami pizza approach, which represents the response of the Prime Minister. But underneath all of these things, there's big choices to make. And my message to Māoridom is that we have far greater priorities. We have far greater challenges than arguing as to which iwi might have the ability to appoint someone to a committee to run the sewerage pipes. I'm not interested in that. And if I have anything to do with it in 2023, that will be in the hangi by lunchtime. But more, I guess, concerning to me are the challenges, the pain and the anguish that a lot of our garden variety kiwis and households, irrespective of your ethnicity, are going to go through next year. So my wrap-up is demand a plan, challenge, and continue to expect clarity, because big choices have to be made. And don't let circumstances force those choices on you. Demand to see a plan and what's the road ahead. From my perspective, the state sector has bloated like a large balloon. Time to pop it and ensure that the size of the government and government departments and bureaucracies don't crowd out the ability of garden variety, honest, God-fearing Kiwis to afford to live in the near to mid-term future. Thanks.